Hey, what's up, guys and gals? My name is Rick 9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about Lucille Ball, more specifically about the last television show series she had, a short-lived one called Life with Lucy. And I'm going to talk about 6 reasons why I believe that the show essentially failed, that it flopped. Those aren't my words. Those are Lucille Ball's words after essentially the show was canceled. And it's a very interesting show because many think, how can I Love Lucy, who was basically the most successful show of all time? We have The Lucy Show, which of course starred Lucille Ball, and we have Here's Lucy, which starred Lucille Ball with her kids. All those 3 shows were seen as successful, varying degrees of course, but then how did this show flop and become a disaster so quickly and fall so hard? Well, I have 6 reasons for it, and I want to get right into it. So if you want to watch more of Life with Lucy or have me go through the complete series every episode and we can dissect and analyze it, I think that'd be interesting because they don't show this that much in syndication. In fact, I've never seen it in syndication, so I want to bring it to your thoughts. So let's get right to it. Essentially, what they were trying to do in the 1980s, 1986 to 1987, is come up with another television show with Lucille Ball. Now, ABC was the one who was front and center, and they were having a hard time with their Saturday night schedule. So they figured if they could get someone who was a powerhouse like Lucille Ball to do the show and anchor it, that they could greatly improve the ratings. They had also The Cosby Show, but that was NBC, so ABC wanted to combat The Cosby Show. So what they did, they had a sitcom commitment, that is ABC, with Aaron Spelling, that was about to essentially run out. And so they wanted to take advantage of that contract with Spelling. So ABC went to Aaron Spelling and pitched the idea of him doing a Lucille Ball sitcom for the network. Spelling agreed and asked her, that is Lucille Ball, but the first response was no. Lucy did not want to come back and felt that she had done everything she could on the television. However, she was bored and she missed working. And so she essentially wanted to get back on TV when she was asked. But ABC offered Lucy an enormous amount of money plus a guarantee of 22 weeks, whether the shows actually played or not. Her husband at the time, not Desi Arnaz, was Gary Morton. He felt the time was right for her to go back to work. And he was convinced that since people loved I Love Lucy, that they would absolutely love seeing her on the television screen again. Now, the number one problem, I think we're going to go through 6, is that essentially they were trying to do everything. They tried to get Gail Gordon on the show. They were trying to put all these guest stars. They were trying to put in new people into the show to act with Lucy and even have some celebrities come on the show. It was a lot too fast, too quickly, and remember, Lucille Ball was up in age at the time of this production. I'm here with baby 9G, and so she might have something to say about the show, but as I continue, Lucy was 75 years old at the time. Remember, Lucille Ball was a physical comedian, and so a 75-year-old woman, no matter how great a shape she was, that was harder to do physical comedy, and would people understand this? And so that goes to number 2. The show essentially didn't do one thing right. They had an aged Lucille Ball who was pressured to do physical comedy. That is, they really wanted her to do physical comedy. They were trying to make new people come on the show. They were trying to put Gail Gordon on the show and in fact make her Lucy's husband, but they thought that people wouldn't accept this. And so they were doing all these things, all these changes and keeping something similar, and it just didn't work. It didn't come together. Even Harpo Marx, the great Harpo Marx, his son, Arthur Marx, was one of the writers for the show, and one would even say that the writings for these episodes weren't even that great. And so nothing essentially that came from this show came out well, and so that is definitely a struggle that they had. Number 3, and this comes from Lucy's daughter, Lucy Arnaz Luckinbill. What she said was that because Lucille Ball was older in age, it used to be very easy for her to memorize her scripts, but she was 75 years old. And so things changed and she wanted to use cue cards now. That was something that Lucille Ball wasn't used to. So her vision would be fixed in one direction versus her just knowing the lines and acting freely. And so this changed the dynamics as well. If you look at the product, you can kind of tell that she's reading off of these cue cards. It's hard to do. I mean, Dean Martin did it, but Dean Martin was a different type of comedian or entertainer, as I would say. And so using the cue cards changed the flavor of the show. It was nothing like Lucy had done before. Number 4, 75-year-old Lucy was doing physical stunts. I mean, I mentioned it before, but this was a big thing. I mean, people were saying, why didn't they make this show similar to the Golden Girls, right? Little quips, little silly things that Lucy would do, but not so much relying on the heavy physical comedy. Remember, the Three Stooges did less and less physical comedy as they got older, and it kind of worked, it kind of didn't. But with Lucy, I mean, it just didn't work, her doing these stunts. It wasn't believable. In regards to the people who were producing the show and making it, there was a lot of competition, or that is butting heads, because Lucy and Gary, her husband, co-owned the show with Aaron Spelling. And Spelling was handling all the licensing, syndication, and paperwork. This made Lucy and Gary essentially free to be on the show without worrying about all the business details. But Lucy still had a condition. She wanted Gil Gordon to appear in the show, and wanted Bob Carroll Jr. and Madeline Davis, who you may have heard of, were the original writers of I Love Lucy. She wanted them to come back and essentially supervise the show. But when they came in and the script came in, people began to disagree. Gil Gordon essentially moved into the house, and that was something that Aaron Spelling wanted, but Bob and Madeline did not want that in the script. So they wanted to move to a more Golden Girls style thing, but the powers that be thought that the series had to be as close as possible to I Love Lucy to sell. So that the scenes ended up being forced. There was not a lot of motivation behind them, and so it created and made the format very limiting. Remember, they were trying to do an I Love Lucy show that was a married show to a woman who wasn't married. And so it was a very complex thing, a lot of ideas, a lot of butting heads. They couldn't decide on what to do and what the formula was to make the show a success. And this leads into my last one, the flawed formula. I Love Lucy had a perfect formula. It had 4 people, a perfect chemistry between the husband and wife, because they were husband and wife. You also had this great supporting cast of Bill Frawley and Vivian Vance. Even though they hated each other, they worked perfectly and their chemistry was great on screen, that is. And then the stories were perfect. Lucy was just so zany, making her husband upset. She was the comedic person, and Desi Arnaz was the straight man. He would react to her comedy. This was very different. Essentially, you had a physical comedian who was very limited in what physicality they could do. And then we had Gil Gordon. Was he up to what he was doing before? Maybe not so much. She was put with new comedians who maybe didn't resonate as much. People didn't like those characters as much. And so there was a lot of things, a lot of competing heads. The formula wasn't perfect. They didn't try to copy a formula that worked, but would copying the I Love Lucy formula made the show a success? I don't think so either, because again, it wouldn't have worked. Lucy was a grandparent age, not a 20 or 30-year-old housewife. And so they were trying to get lightning in a bottle twice, and it just didn't work. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more about this show, going through every episode, we can look at the highs, the lows, and not attack or belittle the show, but study it. See maybe what they did wrong, see maybe what they did right, see what improvements we could have made, or maybe it was a lost cause from the beginning. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm very interested in this topic, and I'd love to see your thoughts down below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the hype button, like, comment. It is all free to do, and it means a lot to me. And if you want to go extra, hit that join button. It really does help out. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget to stay positive, and most importantly, be hopeful. Thank you so much to all my patron supporters, especially my diamond tier patrons: Joanna R, Citizen Kane 359, Sally N, Daniel B, Jerry D, and Vito L. If you want to be on this list, make sure to check the link in the description, and thanks to all who support.